Hey, everybody. Good to have you back. Another episode of COVID Questions. I'm Ryan Bohm, Tanner Dance, my partner. We're founders at Core Capital Wealth Management. And today, thank you, Kade Longhurst. Kade's our guest. He's the owner and broker at Longhurst Real Estate. And check him out at longhurstrealestate.com. Kade, let's jump right into it, man. What has the last couple months, COVID, stay-at-home orders, what has that done to, your business, the real estate business?
It's definitely affected the business. I mean, there's no doubt about that. It has kind of changed the way we've done business. We've done a lot more video showings, things like that. Thankfully, there's continually a need for housing. That hasn't necessarily gone away. Before all this pandemic hit, there was a huge rush for housing almost. I mean, the market was cranking out, it really was doing well. So it hasn't necessarily disappeared. There's still that need. There's still people buying homes. And I mean, as I pulled the stats up, I was comparing this year to last, the first quarter and even the month of April, numbers are continuing to go up. I mean, even the value of homes, the number of homes sold, it's gone up. I mean, there was more in April this year than there were last year. So, but it's the way we've done the business has certainly changed. I've done way more video showings. I've done way more just taking videos and posting them to my YouTube channel. And if people want to do a virtual showing as opposed to walking through the house,
Right.
But for about 2 weeks there, I'd say in April, it kind of came to a standstill with showings completely. I mean, there was that fear basically,
Yeah.
but that's kind of broken now. I mean, I think people are out and they're still looking at homes, and it's definitely progressed. So
from what you've seen, Kade, in the numbers, is that just a Utah real estate specific market thing where, year over year it's still positive? Do you see that kind of outside of Utah, or is just Utah just like a really strong real estate market?
Utah is just a strong market. Yeah. I mean, I hate to speak for any market outside of Utah, because I don't really know it that well, to be completely honest with you, because it's a completely different economy and things like that. But Utah in general has done extremely well, and especially in Cache County where we're at here. It has kind of followed the trend of all of Utah. It hasn't declined or anything like that either. So yeah, it's done well. It really has.
So do you, I mean, for your business, obviously you've had to adapt. You're doing these showings online, YouTube channel. I mean, that's kind of a big change from, hey, meet me at the house. We're going to walk through. I'm going to sell you on the whole deal. I mean, it sounds like people are still engaging. They're still buying. For you as a broker, has that been difficult? How do you feel about it?
It's definitely been a change. I don't know if it's been difficult. I've actually enjoyed it, to be completely honest with you, to kind of go out and do virtual showings. I mean, on all my listings, and I can say on most agents or brokers in the Valley and in Cache Valley, they offer that virtual showing, so when they list a property, they do a nice video tour of it, and then they present that to people. So it's almost, there's been a decline in showings just because I think they've got more information up front, instead of saying, oh, here's some nice pictures, it looks good, and then they walk in and it's not that great, not what they thought it was. But now they've got more information. They've got this nice video with way more information. So it's declined the showings, but I think it's just made our process more efficient as well. We're not having to show 10, 20 homes because we've got more information up front. So
yeah. What would you say, or maybe, because it kind of sounds like, that might be something that changes a little bit your business forever moving forward. Are there any kind of silver linings, efficiencies, like you mentioned? There's certain things that you're like, look, even when things get back to normal, this is probably something we're going to work with.
Yeah, I hope that continues. I mean, in my business, I will always do a video tour at this point, like right when I list a property, have a professional video done of it, of the inside, and not just of the selling features of the home, but I try to put some negatives of the home as well, just because I don't want to sugarcoat anything. And if I show it as it is, type thing, because it's just going to waste everyone's time if you're making it look like something that it isn't. So I hope that continues on. It will in my business, and I really think it will with everyone else's as well. So
interesting. Are there any other components? what do you think is kind of coming down the pike in terms of, where rates are and what that means for housing? Do you feel like it's going to continue to roll on, or do you see, with unemployment numbers going up and just kind of the uncertainty, do you think it's going to start to slow down?
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying, I've thought a lot about that question. And I really think that the only uncertainty is the unemployment, like you said, because if this does continue and people aren't going into work and their jobs are, getting cut and things like that, there's no way it can't affect this. Fewer and fewer people are going to be buying homes. So far, we haven't necessarily seen that, but if it keeps going on, we'll see a major decrease, which at that point, I think will decrease the values, and it'll kind of be across the board at that point. So I guess we just keep our fingers crossed that people can get back to work,
Yeah. No, we've certainly in our business, we're, very attuned to those employment numbers, and we're watching them. And right now it's kind of a euphoric moment, and the market just keeps, rocking on in spite of those bad employment numbers. So it'll be interesting to see here in the next, month or so, couple, 2-3 months, as these employment numbers really play out, how many of these jobs are going to come back, and I think it'll be a little slower than maybe we hope it might be. But,
yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to think that things aren't going to be different than they were before. I mean, you can't go through something like this and think it's going to be just like it was. My optimistic attitude likes to think that, but I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, it's too much has happened in the economy with jobs and just everything basically to make me think that it'll be the same. It's got to be different. And I'm curious to see how it's going to be different, whether it's going to be, fewer numbers, fewer jobs. And I think there's going to be greater opportunities as well within my industry because of these things. I hope it's not because of foreclosures and short sales and things like that. But, back in 2008, we did go through that, and as a business, I think as long as you're able to adapt to those changes in the market, you can still flourish. It's not what I prefer to do, but especially because it's dealing with people through their hardships. But I could see that potentially happening,
Yeah. And so if that, let's just play that scenario out, if that starts to happen and we really see the ripple effects of the economy start to slow, your business starts to compress, values are coming down. I mean, what are some of the things, like in 2008, what are some things that people need to know about real estate that might help them through that? Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are those mortgage forgiveness things that they've rolled out. Basically, if you got to, if you need to defer your payment, basically you got to go through the steps to do that. Basically what they're doing is they're just tacking those loan payments on the end of your loan is what it is. So you're just deferring those payments. But if it does get worse and you're not able to make payments after those things, definitely seek some help to either do a short sale or, right now, I don't think you'd have to short sell it because anyone who bought a house even 6 months ago has equity because the market hasn't really tanked yet. So I think if you want to sell your house or, talk to your mortgage company before it gets foreclosed upon, because that's worst case. If things continue on and values start to decrease and you don't have the equity in your home to be able to sell it, then you definitely want to do a short sale, meaning you sell it for less than you owe on it and avoid that foreclosure because your future is much brighter with a short sale than a foreclosure. Your ability to get back into a house in a later date, your credit score rebounds much quicker, things like that. So if you do get into a situation where you're hurting, don't have a job, can't make your payments, take actions early. Don't wait for what's going to happen to you. Take actions early so that you can improve your future later on. And it could happen. There's people losing their jobs out there. So
yeah, for sure. So we're a few months into this thing. We still don't know what it really means long term, but if you could point out maybe one or two things that are kind of, these are the things that are most impactful to you, or at least that you learned, the most important lessons you've learned over, the last few months.
Well, and I've thought a lot about this question as well. One thing that I've learned is the need for social, being social, basically. I've really missed getting my office together. I've got 25 agents that work with me, and we used to, get together and have meetings, and we used to, collaborate on what we're doing, who's doing this marketing, and problems you've run into. And I've missed that. I really have missed that. And I think I took it for granted before. We have done Zoom meetings and things like that, and it's helped, but it's just not the same.
Yeah,
So
for sure. No, there's definitely something to be said about us being, social creatures, and that interaction has been tough, for sure.
And I've seen a decrease in motivation almost, because when we get together, you're able to do a kumbaya hurrah meeting, and people get excited to work again and go hit their sales and things like that. But I've seen a decrease in motivation almost with some of my agents, just because of the being isolated. You can't lean on someone basically as much.
Yeah, you don't get that daily motivation, the get together, and that's tough, man. That's tough. How are you trying to motivate those guys then and other employees when it's just, you can't get together physically, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I make phone calls to them, at least weekly to them, and say, hey, what you got going on? I mean, can I help with anything, and stuff like that. And I think they're sick and tired of hearing from me is what it is. I need to get them to call each other is what it is, because I think that they really do build off each other. So that's something I should do, is try to get them to talk to each other a little bit more. But yeah, hopefully this ends soon so that we can get back together, because it just helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kade, really appreciate your expertise, your time. Again, everybody, check them out at longhurstrealestate.com, and we'll catch you another time, man.
Yeah, thanks, Beck. Appreciate it.